many people have bad records because of overzealous enforcement and sentencing policies, and don't know, what to do about that. Somebody gets stopped for having a little bit of marijuana or driving while black, or such issues as that. Someone can help out with that?
Maybe the panel try to address that?
So I guess the best answer to that question lies with the state legislature. They're going to have to be the ones that, they're the ones that make the laws. Last year, for example, there was a racial policing bill that was introduced. The bill did a number of things like keep track of stops and so on and so forth, and it was killed. There have been a number of criminal justice initiatives at both actually the state and the federal level that have been introduced that haven't gone very far. But I think if you're looking for where you have to target those efforts, it's got to be with our elected representatives.
So if I begin to talk right now in this language, nobody will understand what they say, not so.
You're like,
What did she say, right? So I switched it up. I spoke a different language. The reality is your environment plays a big role in how you behave and in the choices you make. The Sage Judicial takes a lens of a holistic approach. We understand that people make poor choices. And our effort as we build and wrap around our employment services is to identify what their needs are, is to provide them those skills that they need, and is to really provide linkages that are around the table to help them gain sustainability and stability. So at the end of the day, people make poor choices, but let's give them a second chance.
I am going to respond to that on the employer end of it. We have seen a lot of people that have come in and made excuses for their background. And, oh, I got caught with marijuana. Is marijuana illegal in Iowa? Yes, it is. So why are we going to blame the officials for doing their jobs? Yes, there are some offenses that people are getting charged with that may not be warranted, but we cannot blame the police officers or the detectives or the US Marshals or the FBI or whoever you want to blame. We cannot blame them for our mistakes. We made the choice, or the people with convictions made the choice to do what they did. It's nobody else's fault but their own. And me having a record, I can blatantly say that what I did was my fault. I can give excuse after excuse, but in the end, it's my responsibility to abide the law and do what we're supposed to do.
Robin, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate the panelist's comment about accountability. And it's very fair and reasonable. But data sets after data sets consistently demonstrate that in the state of Iowa, people of color are disproportionately impacted by our criminal legal system. They have disproportionately higher impact, contact with the criminal legal system. And we know from study after study, very credible studies, in fact, studies done by the FBI, that black and white folks, particularly with drug crimes, commit those crimes at similar rates, but African Americans and Latino Americans are 10 times as likely to be arrested and prosecuted. So there is something to say about disproportionate contact, and those numbers are represented in our jail and prison populations here, where we see that minorities, black and brown folks, make up, 4% of our population here, but around 20, Bruce, can you double check this, fact check this, 20-some% of our prison population?
I don't have the figures right with me, but you're probably pretty close.
Yeah, I think I'm right, but I was asking because, that's the field you're in, but that's the last that I've read. So that is an issue, and I think we have to be real honest about it, and I appreciate Marsha bringing it up because there is really good legislation out there, and really good reforms that speak to these issues. We've been meeting with law enforcement professionals for the past few years in this community, and we've seen other departments around the state, particularly in Scott County, where they do the traffic stop analysis, and we can see down to the badge number which officers are pulling over people who may be African American, and we can see the outliers there, and that's where you have to have conversations about what is driving this kind of contact. Is there work that needs to be done on implicit bias? Is there work that needs to be done with how we train officers to police? Is there community policing strategies that we need to be thinking about? I will give a lot of credit to our local law enforcement agencies here for being open to those conversations, but again, to Marcia's point, this is something that we really need statewide legislation on and federal legislation, and we need to be conscious of that because we do know that our workforce in Iowa isn't diverse, and we do know that when we start working with populations, reentry populations, that that what we are seeing are disproportionately relative to how many of them live in the state. A disproportionate number of folks reentering society are Black and brown, and that's just a conversation that I think we should be having parallel to these conversations about fair chance hire. So thank you for asking that question.